Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
A Time for Truth show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to A Time for Truth show. And tonight we're very lucky to have someone who's done so much in his lifetime, Bishop Acen Phillips. Buddha, let's put him up on the screen. And we'll introduce our viewers to Bishop Phillips. If you can put his images up. He's 67 years of civil rights ministry. He was born in Hill House, Mississippi, and initiated his education in Kansas City, beginning his calling as a minister in Denver, where he would marry his wife of many, many years. The bishop is founder and chairman of Opportunities Industrial Center, the founder and chairman of Production Incorporated, the CEO of Gardner Construction Developing Affordable Housing, the executive director of Mount Gilead Foster Care Facility for Dysfunctional Youth, and Youth Job Mart. The Bishop's awards include the Martin Luther King Jr. 1991 Humanitarian Award, Man of the Year 1971 Community Service Award, the 1997 Ohio Barfield Community Service Award, the 1998 Cheyenne Martin Luther King Community Service Award, the 1991 Martin Luther King Colorado Housing Commission Award. There you see the Bishop with Chili Most. The 1995 Denver Council Distinguished Service Award, the 1997 NBC USA Christian Education Service Award, the 1997 South Dakota MLK Community Service Award, the 1999 Lincoln, Nebraska Parish NAACP Martin Luther King Award, the Afro-American Living Legend Award, the 1990 40-Year Distinguished Service Award from the Greater Metro Denver Ministries Alliance, the 1995 Philadelphia Outstanding Service Resolution Award. He's former president of the Northern Baptist District Convention, of the Western State Baptist Convention, of the Colorado SCLC, of Denver's Ministers Alliance, of the Greater Metro Denver's Ministers Alliance, and was awarded in 2020 as the Colorado Trailblazer winner for his many, many years of work with Dr. Martin Luther King. Engineer, if we bring him up live, let's bid a warm welcome to Bishop Acen Phillips to A Time for Truth show. Welcome, Bishop.
Wonderful. Good to be here with you, Dr. B. Just exciting to share this moment with you.
Thank you for taking your time. I know you're a busy guy. Bobby Hunter, the Globetrotter, was out there with you, and he said, We got to get Dr. Phillips on the show. I said, absolutely. I love having you on the show. Let's get right to it. Let's start out with some not so nice beginnings. But when you were a 5-year-old, your uncle was brutalized. Tell us about the impact this had on your life.
Well, it's amazing. I was 4.5 years old in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and I witnessed my uncle being dragged behind a truck, tarred and feathered and hung in Clarksdale, Mississippi. That's 80 plus years ago. But Dr. B, 2 years ago, my nephew in Clarksdale, Mississippi, almost on the same street, got off a bus on his way home, and they hung him 2 years ago. Now that's 80 years span, but the same kind of violence is going on in Mississippi and around this nation that was going on 80 years ago. With all of the efforts and the work we've done to bring things together, violence right now is just rampant all across America. And the challenge is that we're feeding the violence. It's almost as though now the news media wants it to continue because it makes good news. Lives are being lost everywhere. But when you can look at all the investment that the Black community has made in America, we've got this new concept now that we just gave birth to, Bobby Hunter and I call the love of Mother Black America. And the whole idea was to bring some healing to the hurt when mothers are watching their children being damaged and literally killed on the streets of America. And then others are being damaged and end up in wheelchairs. My grandson is a quadriplegic now, been there 13 years in a wheelchair, and his mother, Vicky, has to give the primary care. That's 24/7 that she's there, and it's difficult to even get support from. What we're trying to do now is to purchase a building here in Aurora at 6 and Chambers to have a daycare for adults on wheels to service those people who are victimized by violence, then have a grief center to help the other mothers. But with all that we're doing, it's a tremendous challenge because right here in Aurora, Colorado, and we've had some tremendous days here. We had the Columbine shooting, then we had the theater shooting. One of the church mothers was killed in the church right here in Colorado. For the last month or so, even Donald Trump targeted Aurora, Colorado, where I live. And concept is that the people from Venezuela are creating a problem and they're bringing gang violence. But the truth is, before they got here, we had a challenge. And the challenge we had before they even arrived is still here. We're focusing many times on those who are trying to come to America now. But it's amazing. We keep waving a wand saying, come to America. This is the land of the free, the home of the brave. And people all over the world look to America and they expect so much from us. And they struggle to get here. Some trying to come through a legal door, some crossing the water. But whatever way they get here, they feel if I can just make it to America, it will be different. Somebody will love me. Somebody will care for me. And if we can ever get to the point where Christ was and learn how to love one another as he loved all of us, what happened to me at 5 years old implanted a mind that I wanted to change what I saw going on. In Mississippi, where I was born, they had literal signs up that says white only here, and they called you by the N-word every day. And no matter what they did, we kept on loving America. And the unique thing is nobody has loved America like this Black mother that always said, no matter what happened, we've got to make certain we project love and not hate. In the midst of the era of slavery where the Black woman was raped and sodomized and ended up having to have a child, mulatto child, and learn how to tell that child, no matter what the man did to her, don't hate him. He's still your father. She taught him that you're not a victim. You're not there because somebody raped me. The only reason I got pregnant after he raped me was that God breathed on my womb. When we can see God in the midst of whatever shade of darkness comes, that's when we have hope. And all around this nation today and around the world, we need some hope. When we look at what happens now in Israel and in Palestine and the people who are dying, My God, they're not the ones who are wanting to have war. Israelites are dying. Palestinians are dying. The folk who are going free is Hamas. Hamas is a mind, a negative mind. You can't destroy a mind with a bullet, but you can with a ballot. And what we're looking at today, right here in our own nation, if Israel and Palestine got together and put the mindset of Hamas out, locked it out, and learned to walk together, when we come together, black and white, I always say this is my thesis. It takes the black and white keys if you're going to play the Star Spangled Banner or sing Amazing Grace. And what we're hoping for is that people can go to Mother Black America website and look at what we can do together. And we're looking for those who want to make an investment in changing America. We've been working 400-500 years trying to get black and white folk to understand we're one people. Everybody breathes the same breath. Everybody has red blood. Everybody has liquid fluids. We under the skin, we all kin to one another. And everybody lives by God's breath. And we can learn to love each other no matter what. That's what's going to stop this violence. I just had a funeral 2 days ago. A young man, 28 years old, died in a gas station in a car. Don't know exactly whether it's suicide or whether drugs, or whether it's drug suicide. The mind of America right now is on destruction. And Mr. Trump came to our city. We already have problems. We're working on them, trying to get them solved. But when someone puts gasoline on your fire, and you still got to try to get the fire out. So we can't come and take a lot of time fighting him, but we got to fight for the right to get that ballot and make sure we change America with a ballot, not a bullet. And right now there's so much violence. We've got to stop it. And the church has to understand the challenge must begin at the church house. We've got to declare to all of America that the door of the church is open. We can solve homelessness overnight. There's not a church in this nation that people sleep in the church. But every night, and now in Colorado, it's getting dark. It snowed yesterday, and we'll have people freezing outdoors in the cold because nobody will let them come in. We could allow them to come in the church, sleep on the pews. Members could bring pillows and blankets from home, and we could share with them what they really need. Before you give them a sandwich, you need to give them some love. Nobody wants your sandwich if you're looking down at them, minimizing who they are. We feed homeless folk as though they are animals sometimes. We spent $80 billion to Ukraine, $50 billion to Israel, but we can't get $1 billion on the streets to get homeless folk. Been out there 20 years, and many of them work 40 hours every week. They earn $15 an hour. They pay $1,200 a month to sleep in a flea bag hotel. That's ungodly. America is too great to allow this to happen on our streets. And somebody needs to just call it out. While we're fussing and cussing and raising sand with one another about nothing, and people are dying in the streets. Some of the things we...
You know, Bishop, you're totally 100% on, and I wanted to actually validate you with something that the Surgeon General of the country came out with scientific, not that we needed scientific proof, but now we have religion, we have spirituality, what's right and wrong, and we have science. And what the Surgeon General of the country said, that our country is suffering from lack of social interaction, everything that you've been saying, that we need to interact, that we need to communicate more. He said, which was amazing, based on science, that the physical health of each individual, that the mental health of each individual, and the community health of our communities in America, the Surgeon General of our country said that based on science, we need to start talking to each other, communicating to each other, and that the medicine for this illness was exactly what you've been saying for the last few minutes. So I wanted to let you know, not that you needed to know this because it's in your heart and it's your soul, but that the science is backing up everything that you said, and the Surgeon General of the country is in total agreement with you that what's happening with this violence is destroying our country. What I wanted to ask you, you worked so many years with Martin Luther King together. What do you think he would say right now to people if he was here?
Well, I think he would tell us to please stop talking about my dream. My dream was a blueprint that you need to wake up out the dream and turn the dream into a vision. You can't do anything dreaming. And that's what we've been doing for the last 40, 50 years. All we talk about is Dr. King's dream. But he said, don't talk about the dream, understand what I said in the dream. When he came up from the dream, he declared, I stood on a mountaintop and I looked down into the valley and I saw young black men and young white men walking together. And I said, they're walking in a positive direction, but they're walking together. And that's the key. We've never honestly integrated. 1960, we did what we call desegregation, where you stop putting up signs that said black folk can't go here, they can't go here. One of the great things that we had as a black church and a black community was a concept of love. There was not any homelessness in the black community, no hunger up to 1960. If you came to a black house and you got there at dinner time and they were running out of food, she'd put some more water in the stew and make another batch of cornbread. You could sit at the table and eat, no matter who you were and where you came from. If it got dark and you needed to sleep and they ran out of beds, they put a pallet on the floor. That was the atmosphere and the format of Black America. Right here in Colorado, I was homeless. The reason I met my beloved, I was actually homeless on the streets of Colorado. And I was working at a car wash and met this young man named Louis Gator Jr. And at the end of the day, he asked me for a ride. I said, he said, is it out of your way? I said, no, wherever you live, it's not out of my way. I sleep in my car. He said, oh man, you don't have to do that. You can come to my house. My mother give you a place. I said, boy, your mama don't know me. He said, no, you don't know my mama. We got to the house. He had been messing his hair up with her towels and she was fussing at him. He screamed, said, Mother dear, I got a friend with me. His name is Ace. He's homeless. He doesn't have a place to stay. She ran down the stairs, took one look at me. And these are the words that are just implanted in my mind forever. She said, son, come in. Your room in my house is downstairs. She called me son, didn't know my name. Told me I had a room in her house downstairs. On my way downstairs, I looked out of the left eye and saw this good-looking girl sitting on a piano with a red and white dress playing it. I forgot I was homeless. I looked one time, said, that's going to be my wife one day. Woke up the next morning, discovered she was engaged to some joker from the Air Force, and took me 2 years to get the ring off her finger and get that joker out of her mind. But as a result, we walked together for 67 years up until March the 19th this year. The Lord took her home. But we walked in love and walked in ministry, walked in oneness. But that mother image, and that's what we're trying to say. And I wish everybody would just go to this new website we put out called Mother Black America and tune into it and see how necessary it is for us to look at what God is presenting for us today. We've got two choices right now. A young man who wants to tell us he's going to put everybody out the country, starting with the events. Well, if you don't watch it, you'll be included in folk he want to put out of the country. Everybody here except the Native Americans, we all came from somewhere else. When you get to America, I don't care how you got here, we need to know how to love you. And that's what has been impregnated in the minds of the Black community. The one thing the Black church does, it loves. And it's always been open for everybody. It's not just open for Black folk. Blackness includes everything. You can't get the color black unless you put every color in the bucket. That's what makes Black, is inclusiveness. And we understand that. And Black folk, we know how to love you no matter what you do to us. And we've been in love with America so long until right now, you look at where we started from. We made a lot of progress, but yet got a long way to go. This nation has an opportunity now to make a choice. We've never had a woman president. Men have been leading America since we got here. But God has always had that woman standing in the view. And we always talk, I'm the head, but that woman has been the neck turning his head and keeping America together. And they've been praying for it. It's amazing. And it's not just black women. Only 38 states in this country now honor women. They have full advantages. But God has done something miraculous. In 3 months, he brought this young woman from the first sitting female vice president to become the candidate for the Democratic Party. It normally takes 2 years to do that. But of course, God did it in 3 months. And here we have now what I call a great harvest. The word says the harvest is plentiful. God brought the harvest. The challenge he has is the laborers. Will we get up and go vote for a woman? And some of us, with our testosterone, we still sitting back. We don't want no woman to lead. Let me help all of us. Every man in the world came in the world through the womb of a woman. That's how you got here. And the tie that between a man and his mother is awesome. The other thing is, if you plan to go to heaven, you got to get into church. The church is the bride of Christ. That's a woman. You can't even get out of time back into eternity unless you get inside of the woman. Jesus is coming back for his bride. He ain't coming back for nobody else. You can't get to heaven at the barber shop, the beauty shop. Got to get in the church. You might not like it, but that's what he said in Genesis. When I redeem the world, I'm going to give a woman my seed. Now, if you want to get out of time back into eternity, you got to get in the church. When he comes back, he's going to wed the church. Then he'll pick his bride up and take across the threshold into the Father's house. Only way you can get in there. We need to understand God has given us a Kamala Harris right now, but it's our choice. And we're wrestling with it. It's amazing. As clear as night and day. And yet we're saying almost what they said at the cross. That governor gave us a choice. He said, I'm going to let somebody go free, Barabbas or Jesus. Make your choice. It's amazing. Those 5,000 folk he fed, the other 4,000 fed, the man with the withered hand, all the folk he blessed stood there silent and let the folk say, give us Barabbas and crucify Jesus. The choice we make determines the consequence we receive. We've got an opportunity to turn America around now and allow a woman to come to the kingdom for such a time as this.
Very, very, very interesting, Bishop. You're very interesting, and you know so much of the past and the history and the present and what you encountered yourself. What I wanted to ask you a question. What do you think should happen in our country regarding the homeless and the housing?
Well, the church has to step up first and declare that what he said to us in Isaiah 61, you wouldn't take me in, hungry you wouldn't feed me, naked you wouldn't clothe me. This is a mandate, not a request to the church. And the church must dare to speak to the politicians. Stop letting the politician tell the church what to do. Our responsibility is to minister to all of the world, to be the light for the politicians, and say to them, the money they spend paying to stay in a free bag hotel, we can create what we call surrogate housing. That's what we're trying to do through this concept of Mother Black America, where take the money they're making now and what they're paying to stay in that free bag hotel and create a process for them to get a home. We can build houses that they can afford to buy. And then if they've been working a year and they've been paying in this process we have for a flea bag hotel, they spend $12 to $14 a month for a room. And they used to could bring their friends in the room. They changed the law now. If you're homeless, can't but one folk go in that room. But if we did it in such a way that I'm trying to work with some banks and some lenders, processors. We put it together where they took that check and let it direct deposit to a bank, let the bank pay the mortgage, set aside 10% of the saving account for them, put the rest of their money on a credit card so you learn how to manage the money. You could take everybody and put them in a home and do it like you call it a contract for deed. The churches across this nation could do it. We got the resources. We just need to put them in proper place. We spend more money managing homeless folk than we do helping homeless folk. And it's an industry now. I was on the governor's task force 35, 40 years ago to solve homelessness. Every year we get more homeless because we discovered a way to make money off of it. We are managing the misery of the masses for a profit. That's why I wrote that book called A Man to Match God's Mountain. I said, God never lets a mountain come in your life before he gives you the power to climb that mountain. Every challenge we have in America, we've got the power to conquer it. It just takes us putting our minds together. We did this 40 years ago with a bank here. It's now named Wells Fargo. We did it years ago and put homeless folk off the streets into houses. The honest truth is that's what Kamala Harris is talking about now, coming up with a process. It doesn't make sense to just keep pushing folk from one street to the next street, put them in a place 3 months, then put them outdoors. Here in Aurora, Colorado, the mayor came up and put all those folk outdoors. And the weird thing was, here's these homeless folk with their little rent receipts in the air saying, but I paid my rent. Why'd you put me outdoors? Well, the building is right. Well, because the building is right, you're going to put them outdoors? That didn't make sense. The city had the authority to go fix the building and build the landowner. They've got a right and authority, but they chose to attack people. We put things before people. We act as though there's a special sacredness in brick and mortar. And some of our churches, some of our pastors have that thing. They honestly think that church is holy, that building is holy. We praying over the pews and putting oil on the seats, and that building is just a building, brick and mortar. Jesus said when he first looked, he said, even these stones will pass away. He's not coming back to get no brick and mortar. The building gets holy when the people come in. Those people who are homeless in those streets, the same God that lives in you and I, Doc, lives in them. The moment we go to them with love and love them first, and then give them a sandwich, then give them a coat, and then let them stay in the church till we can process them into a house. I'm praying that Kamala Harris will hear your show and take up this concept. While she's vice president, to be honest, she could write a stroke right now. And all these empty buildings all over the nation, the government could go in and give the folk a card so they could go in and buy the building. The money
you know, Bishop, I got to say something. You have given the most lucid, logical, straightforward solutions. I've run this show for quite a while. You're very down to earth. You have no attitude or look at me, who am I? And it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I loved having you the other times you were on the show. We have to have you on more. And unfortunately, like everything that's good, it flies by. The time has flown by. I'm so sorry we have no more time. But at the end of the show, I want to say something to all the viewers watching. Let's listen to this man who has, for his whole lifetime, worked for humanity, who worked for a great man named Martin Luther King also, who worked for humanity. And let's take heed to his words. Let's not dream anymore. At the end of this show, reach out to Acen Phillips in Denver. Reach out to us here in New York at Time for Truth. Reach out to Globetrotter Robert Hunter and his Art Against Violence, Drug-Free World. Let's work together. Bishop Phillips, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for letting me come on. Enjoyed it.
Oh, you are fantastic. For those of you watching, you got the solution. It's simple. Let's do it.
God bless.
We'll see you.
Tell them to turn in and check in on that website, Mother Black America. You can go there and get a whole concept how we can work together. And black and white together, we can get it done. We can play the Star Spangled Banner or sing Amazing Grace together.
You got it. Mother Black America, right?
From Mother Black America.
You got it. And you know what? To end this show, I see the mountaintop, and there's a lot of happy people on it.
Praise God.
Good night.
Good night.
This show was sponsored by Atimefortruth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got. But the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet